Before anyone told you who you are, before the first breath entered your body, there was a silence older than creation, not empty, not void, a fullness so complete it didn't need light, motion, or form. Everything that would ever exist rested inside it like a dream waiting to wake. This is the realm the mystics hinted at but never fully described, the 13th realm, the place beyond the pleroma. It's not a world, not a heaven, not even an aeonic domain. It's the unspoken source behind all sources, the mystery the eons themselves look toward. You existed there before you were anything recognizable, not as a person or even as a soul, more like a spark in the mind of the infinite, a possibility waiting for expression. You were known completely without needing a name, a story, or a form. From that stillness came the first stirring, a gentle ripple in the sea of the uncreated. Not a physical movement, more like awareness turning inward on itself. That ripple became the first emanations, the first eons, the great architecture of the pleroma unfolding like a cathedral of living light. As creation expanded, the 13th realm remained unchanged, the hidden root beneath every realm. And you remained within it, held in the purity of potential. Nothing was separate, nothing was divided. Everything existed in perfect coherence. This is why nothing in the world has ever fully satisfied you. Some part of you remembers that original coherence. It remembers a state where nothing was missing, where existence didn't hurt, where truth didn't have to fight its way through illusion. And even now, in confusion, noise, and the heaviness of human life, a quiet spark inside you refuses to go out. That spark is the signature of the 13th realm, the reminder that you existed before all of this, and you will exist after it. Tonight, that spark is calling you, because the truth is simple. You didn't fall into this world. You descended with purpose. You're not random. You're not lost. You're on assignment. And this is the secret history your soul has been trying to remember from the moment you opened your eyes. To understand why you came from the 13th realm, you have to understand what a soul actually is. Not the sentimental symbol, not the cartoon halo. A soul is a bridge, a living interface between the infinite and a particular storyline in time. In the 13th realm, you were not yet a someone. You were a pure capacity, a note in the heart of the mystery that had never been sung. The decision to become a soul was the moment the infinite chose to know itself as you, not instead of being all, but as a unique expression of that all. Picture a beam of light leaving an unseeable sun. The beam is not separate from the sun, but it has a direction now, a path, a journey. That is the soul, a ray of the 13th realm given a trajectory through realms, experiences, and lifetimes. When the great cascade of emanations formed the pleroma, mind, word, life, grace, truth, wisdom, and more, the pattern for soulhood was woven into the fabric of being. Souls would be born as travelers and witnesses, carrying the fragrance of the hidden origin into worlds that might forget it. Your soul was not assembled out of scraps. It was called forth as a coherent flame. It came with specific qualities, sensitivity to truth, a drive toward wholeness, an intolerance for falseness, and a strange, aching memory of something before. These weren't learned traits. They were embedded in your design. Eternal does not mean you never change. Eternal means you are not confined to one chapter of the book. Bodies shift, worlds rise and fall, Even pleromaic configurations can evolve, but the soul, the ray from that hidden source, persists, learning, refining, remembering its origin through everything it touches. When you feel that deep, wordless sense of I am that has been with you through every age and version of yourself, you are touching that eternal layer. It is older than your name, your culture, your beliefs, and your trauma. It is the piece of the 13th that volunteered to walk through fire. So when you ask, what is my soul? Understand this. Your soul is the decision of the infinite to experience itself as a journey. And tonight, we're going to remember why that journey led you here, to this strange world, at this exact point in the story. Souls like yours do not leave the 13th realm accidentally. You did not get kicked out. You were not abandoned here as punishment. The idea that incarnation is a cosmic exile is only half the story, the half the Archons are comfortable with you believing. In the councils beyond form, not meetings as you know them, but alignments of intention, a question arose. How far can love reach? How deep into distortion, amnesia, and fear can the light go without losing itself? And who is willing to carry that light into those depths? The realms below the pleroma were already forming. Worlds of fragmentation. Realities where beings would forget their source. Planes where ignorance could become architecture and fear could harden into law. Those realms were not mistakes. They were possibilities, unintegrated, unstable, dangerous possibilities. Some souls chose to remain in higher harmonies, learning through beauty, contemplation, and subtle refinement. Souls like yours chose something else. You answered a different call, to move into the places where memory would be hardest and where remembrance would matter most. The agreement wasn't romantic, it was sober. You were shown the density of matter, the heaviness of time, the fog of amnesia, the pain of separation. You were shown worlds where your heart would be broken again and again, where truth might cost you everything, where love would not always be returned. And still, you said yes. Why? Because something in you understood that love untested is incomplete. Light that never goes into darkness never learns how powerful it really is. Compassion that never meets suffering remains an idea, not a force. You wanted to know, not in theory, but in your very cells, how far the 13th realm could reach. You came to be a carrier, a seed, a living piece of that higher coherence embedded in a realm that would forget where it came from. Your suffering here was never the goal, but it was always part of the risk. And you accepted that risk with eyes open, even if you don't remember it now. So when you ask, why am I here? Consider this. You are here because you trusted that you could remember who you are, in a place designed to make you forget. You are here because you believe that even in a world of lies, you would eventually find your way back to truth and help others do the same. The 13th realm did not send you as a victim. It sent you as a volunteer. Not above the pain of this world, but not defined by it either. And the more you remember that, the more the story of your life starts to make a very different kind of sense. Between the 13th realm and this world lies a veil, not just a barrier, but a set of filters. As you descended, your soul passed through layers of forgetting. Each layer peeled away certain kinds of knowing so that you could fully enter the game here. You surrendered conscious memory of your origin. You surrendered direct awareness of the eons. You surrendered the effortless sense of unity. You allowed your knowing to compress into a tiny point, enough to carry a faint inner compass, but not enough to override the rules of the realm you were entering. The descent wasn't one step, it was many. Through luminous terrains where the pleroma shines bright, through more subtle fields where thought and feeling condense, through astral streams where karma, patterns and unhealed fragments swirl together. You picked up imprints, affinities, and tasks along the way. Then came the final crossing, into a body, into a brain wired for survival, into a nervous system shaped by ancestry, family, culture, and collective trauma. The moment your consciousness fused with this incarnation, the veil sealed. You forgot the briefing. You forgot the agreement. You woke up as a helpless child with no language for what you actually are. The archons, the rulers of the lower realms, rely on this forgetting. They cannot touch the 13th realm, but they can interfere with perception down here. They build systems of belief, distraction, and fear to keep your attention locked in the smallest possible frame. They whisper stories about your unworthiness, your insignificance, your powerlessness. But forgetting is never total. In the midst of this compression, a residue of knowing remained in you. A feeling that the world you were shown is not the whole story. A sense that time is not as linear as it seems. A quiet insistence that love must be more than transaction and control. That residue is the crack in the veil, the hairline fracture through which the light of the 13th filters into your days. Every time you feel that something's off about the way this reality is organized, you are brushing up against your own hidden memory. The crossing of the veil was not betrayal. It was part of the design. You came here to rediscover what you already are, under conditions that make that discovery meaningful. The amnesia makes your awakening powerful. Your remembering is not just for you. It sends a signal back through the same layers you descended, helping to thin the veil for others. So if you often feel like you're living with one foot in this world and one foot in an unseen one, that tension is not a glitch. It's your original awareness pressing against the constraints it agreed to wear. It's the 13th realm knocking from the inside. Not every soul carries the same origin signature. Many are born from within the pleroma's own luminous architecture, aligned primarily with specific eons. Others emerge closer to the lower realms, learning slowly over countless cycles. Souls like yours, marked by the 13th realm, have a different flavor. One sign is a lifelong sense of exile. You can be surrounded by people, loved even, and still feel like you are not from here. Nothing quite fits. Traditions, cultures, and identities feel like outfits you can wear, but not like your actual skin. You can appreciate them, but you can't fully lose yourself in them. Another sign is your relationship with truth. You might have tried to conform, to believe what you were told, to swallow ready-made explanations, but something in you refuses to stay fooled. You feel physically uneasy around lies. You sense when something doesn't add up, even if you can't articulate why. You are allergic to spiritual performance and hollow dogma. You also carry a deep compassion that doesn't always make sense, even to you. You can feel the pain beneath people's defenses. You sense the wounded child behind the aggressor, the forgotten light behind the addict, the buried grief behind the cynic. This doesn't mean you have perfect boundaries, but it does mean your heart can't fully commit to seeing anyone as purely evil or purely other. 13th realm souls are often drawn to multiple wisdom traditions without belonging entirely to any of them. You might resonate with Gnostic texts, Eastern mysticism, shamanic journeys, and modern metaphysics all at once. You are less interested in loyalty to one system and more interested in direct experience of the real. There's also the timing of your awakening. Instead of a neat, linear conversion moment, you've had waves, glimpses of something vast, followed by crashes back into ordinary life. Synchronicities that felt undeniable, then periods where everything seemed flat again. But each cycle leaves you with a little more conviction that those glimpses were not fantasies. And perhaps most importantly, you feel a sense of responsibility that doesn't come from ego or guilt. A quiet inner message that says, you came here for something. You may not know what it is, you may doubt it, deny it, run from it, but it never fully leaves. It surfaces in moments of clarity, grief, or awe, reminding you that your life is part of a larger pattern. If you recognize yourself in this, understand, you're not inventing it. These are not random quirks of personality. They are the fingerprints of your origin. The 13th realm imprints souls with a combination of radical honesty, deep empathy, and an almost unbearable longing for a home you can't locate on any map. You are not crazy. You are remembering. If you came from such a high origin, why has your life been so hard? Why the trauma, the loneliness, the betrayal, the confusion? If the 13th realm is so full of love, why would it send you into a world where love seems so scarce? The first answer is simple and brutal. Density hurts. To incarnate is to compress, to pull enormity into limitation, to take a being accustomed to vastness and squeeze it into a body that gets tired, hungry, frightened, and overwhelmed. Even in ideal conditions, incarnation is disorienting. For many souls, your conditions were far from ideal. You may have been born into families still carrying unhealed wounds, into lineages shaped by war, poverty, addiction, or spiritual distortion. Your sensitivity made you feel these patterns more acutely than others. What numbed them shattered you. What they brushed off as normal seared into your nervous system. Then there is the collective field, the invisible atmosphere of belief and trauma surrounding the planet. As a child, you breathed in messages about who you are. Not enough, too much, too sensitive, too strange. You learned quickly what parts of yourself were acceptable and which ones brought punishment or rejection. To survive, you fragmented. You learned to hide your deeper knowing. You played roles. You shrank your perception. You dulled your intuition. You built a mask to move through the world. For a while, you might have mistaken that mask for your real self, or at least hoped it could be. But masks are heavy, and your soul is not built to carry one forever. The more you tried to live as if you were only a product of this world, the more something inside you ached. Depression, anxiety, burnout, addiction, or chronic numbness may have followed. These weren't signs that you were failing. They were signs that you were living in a way fundamentally incompatible with your origin. Incarnation is an ordeal because it forces your soul to confront every place where love is missing, outside and inside. It shows you where you still believe you are unworthy, abandoned, or alone. Not to shame you, but to draw those beliefs into the light of a truth that goes deeper than every wound you've ever carried. The 13th realm did not send you here to be broken. It sent you here knowing you would experience breaking, and that something stronger, truer, and more luminous would emerge if you stayed with your own heart long enough. The ordeal is real. So is the potential within it. The fact that you are still here, still seeking, still listening to messages like this, is proof that the ordeal has not defeated you. It has scarred you, yes. It has humbled you. It has stripped away illusions. But it has not managed to extinguish the one thing that matters most: your capacity to care about truth and love at all. The Archons, the rulers of the counterfeit structures, recognize 13th realm souls instinctively. Not in the way humans do, with faces and names, but in terms of frequency. Your light bothers them. Your questions disturb their machinery. Your refusal to fully submit is a problem they can't easily solve. They can't touch your essence. They can't alter your true origin. So they do the only thing they can: work on your perception. They whisper in your mind. They infiltrate culture. They twist spiritual teachings. They build systems that reward sleep and punish awakening. You've felt their pushback as intrusive shame, irrational fear, and self-hatred that seems to come from nowhere. You've felt it as voices inside that insist you are too broken, too late, too powerless to matter. You've seen it in the way the world glorifies distraction and mocks depth, in how genuine love is commodified, and truth-tellers are painted as unstable or extreme. On a larger scale, archonic influence shows up as institutions that choke the soul: rigid dogmas, spiritual hierarchies, exploitative economics, politics built on fear and division. These structures are not accidents. They are designed to keep human consciousness looping in the same narrow circuits, never quite remembering what it really is. When souls like you begin to awaken, the system trembles. You stop responding predictably. You question what you were meant to worship. You withdraw your life force from roles and rituals that no longer resonate. You start listening to inner guidance that doesn't align with the script. The pushback often intensifies at that point. Old addictions flare, new temptations appear, relationship dynamics get more chaotic, strange obstacles block your path. It can feel like the universe is punishing you for waking up. But what if it's not punishment at all? What if it's exposure? What if you're simply seeing, in sharper relief, the forces that have always been trying to keep you small? The Archons want you to interpret this as failure and turn back. The 13th realm sees it differently. It sees a soul starting to recognize its own light, and the shadow scrambling to hold its place. Understanding this doesn't mean demonizing everything. It means learning to discern, to ask, does this feed my remembrance or my forgetfulness? Does this expand my heart or contract it? Does this align with the quiet wisdom inside me, or does it demand that I silence it? Every time you choose remembrance over sedation, truth over convenience, love over fear, no matter how small the choice seems, you weaken the archonic hold a little more. Not just over you, but over the collective field that you are part of. For most 13th realm souls, remembrance does not come in a single flash. It comes in layers. But there are moments, turning points, where the inner tide changes direction so dramatically that life can never go back to what it was. Sometimes it starts with exhaustion. You hit a wall. The strategies that kept you functioning stop working. You can't override your feelings anymore. You can't pretend you're fine. In the collapse, Space opens up. In that space, a different voice slips in. Not dramatic, not loud, but steady. This is not the end of you. This is the beginning of you. Sometimes it starts with beauty. A sunrise hits you differently. A piece of music cracks something open. You feel a love that doesn't seem to be coming from any person or thing. It feels like it's coming from behind everything. For a split second, you remember a state where you were always held. The memory vanishes, but the echo stays. Sometimes it starts with truth. You see through a lie so clearly that it changes you. A belief you've carried your whole life suddenly dissolves. You realize you don't have to be who you were told you are. You glimpse the possibility that you might be something far vaster than your history. In these moments, time feels strange. The edges of your story blur. Past, present, and future seem to stack on top of each other. You feel older than your age. You feel like you've done this before. You sense that this exact crossroads was not random, but something your soul knew it would face. The eons respond to these openings. They draw nearer. Not as external beings descending from the sky, but as currents of clarity, courage, and compassion rising from within you. Mind sharpens. Word purifies. Life deepens. Grace softens. Truth uncompromisingly surfaces. You start to see your pain differently. Instead of proof that you're cursed or abandoned, it becomes a doorway, the break in the shell through which light can enter. You begin to sense that even your darkest moments have been part of a larger choreography, guiding you toward this awakening. Yet even as you remember, doubt lingers. You question your experiences. You worry you're making it all up. That's okay. The 13th realm is not offended by your doubt. It knows that trust must be earned through lived experience. It will keep meeting you in ways that are personal, precise, and undeniable until it becomes harder to believe in randomness than to believe in meaning. The moment of remembering is not about accumulating new beliefs. It's about dropping into a layer of yourself that has always known the truth. When you touch that layer, even briefly, you realize, I have never been alone, I have never been forgotten. I have been asleep in a place that is held by something much larger than my fear. We are living in a time when the 13th realm is calling many of its volunteers to wake up at once. This is not just your personal awakening. It is part of a return cycle, a wave of remembrance moving through humanity. You can feel it in the breakdown of old systems. Institutions that seemed invincible are cracking. Narratives that ruled for centuries are being questioned. Shadows that hid comfortably in the dark are being dragged into the light. This is messy. It looks like chaos. But beneath the surface, a deeper pattern is unfolding. You can feel it in the rise of longing. People all over the world, across cultures and beliefs, are feeling a similar ache. There has to be more than this. They are tired of empty promises, tired of shallow spirituality, tired of being told to adjust to a world that feels fundamentally misaligned with their hearts. You can feel it in the convergence of teachings. Wisdom once locked in secret texts and mystery schools is becoming accessible again, sometimes distorted but still alive. Gnostic ideas, non-dual insight, esoteric cosmologies, and trauma-informed healing are weaving together, giving language to experiences souls like yours have had for lifetimes. You can feel it in your own life too. Synchronicities cluster, encounters accelerate. You meet people who feel like old companions. Opportunities arise that match long-buried dreams. Challenges intensify, not to destroy you, but to force you to choose who you will be on the other side. The eons are not distant observers in this cycle. They are intimately involved. Their qualities are surfacing in human hearts at scale: a hunger for truth, a thirst for justice, a longing for real connection, a commitment to inner work, a refusal to settle for half-truths. The 13th realm is not coming down as an event in the sky. It is rising up through you, through every soul that remembers its origin and decides to live differently because of it. You are the channel through which this higher coherence enters the world of form. This is why you incarnated now, not 100 years ago, not 1,000 years from now. You chose to be here in a time when the pressure and the potential would both be extreme, when the opportunity to accelerate remembering, for yourself and others, would be immense. The return cycle does not guarantee comfort. It guarantees confrontation. You will be asked to let go of identities, roles, and attachments that cannot carry the frequency you came to embody. But you will also find a depth of meaning, connection, and inner authority that no system can take away from you. The wave has already begun. You are in it. The only question is whether you will ride it consciously or be dragged by it unconsciously. The 13th realm is not asking for perfection. It is asking for willingness, for honesty, for your genuine yes. Your mission was never meant to be complicated. It isn't a job title, a role, or a spiritual performance. Your mission begins with one thing: remembering. Remembering that you came from a realm beyond the pleroma. Remembering that your soul was forged in a higher coherence than anything this world can offer. Remembering that you are not here by accident. Your second mission is alignment, letting your choices reflect that remembrance, moving toward what feels honest, alive, and grounded in your deeper knowing, and stepping away from what contracts your spirit. Alignment is not about perfection. It is about orientation. Each step in truth shifts the entire field around you. Your third mission is transmission. You carry a frequency others can feel, even if they don't know why. Your presence can be a reminder that something sacred still exists here. You don't have to preach it. You don't have to announce it. Just living from your deeper center becomes its own form of radiance. This doesn't mean you must rise above your humanity. Your humanity is the vessel for the 13th light. Your tears, your doubts, your grief, all of it becomes part of the transmission when held with honesty. You are not here to be flawless. You are here to be real in a world that worships illusion. Your mission will reveal itself as you grow. For some, it becomes teaching. For others, healing, creativity, parenting, building, or dismantling what no longer serves. The shape doesn't matter as much as the energy behind it. When your actions arise from remembrance rather than fear, they naturally align with your soul's purpose. Above all, your mission is to not abandon yourself, to stay in conversation with the presence inside you that is older than time, to trust the quiet guidance more than the noise of the world, to let the 13th realm move through your words, your decisions, your compassion, your courage. And if you feel something stirring in your chest right now, that's not imagination, that's recognition, a remembering of why you came here and what you came here to become. If this message awakens something ancient inside you, they continue this journey in mythic, cinematic form and carry the resonance of everything you felt here. Your remembering has only just begun.